Welcome to toy-polloi. No Legos were harmed in the making of this video.
Hello and welcome to toy-polloi, and in today's video we're going to try and make something out of this mess of broken Darth Vader Tie Fighter parts that I was very kindly sent by Darren. You'll have seen that video over on toy-polloi too. Now Darren sent me a whole box of sort of broken bits, and in it was this, and he said it was a Darth Vader Tie Fighter, and bits of it are. We've got the wings of a Darth Vader Tie Fighter, but the middle section here is actually from a TIE Interceptor. But as soon as I saw this, it gave me an idea of a project that I wanted to do, which was to try and recreate Darth Vader's TIE Fighter. As you see at the very end of Star Wars, when it's been hit by the other TIE Fighter and is spinning off into space, it's got a damaged wing, and I just saw this sort of pile of bits and I thought, do you know what? I think I'm going to make that out of this. So it's never going to be a perfect TIE Fighter because you can see just how damaged it is, but we can make something really nice and really displayable from it. So let's take a closer look at these pieces, see what's wrong with them, see what needs fixing, and then we'll start doing a little bit of custom work. So what have we got to work with? As I say, this was sent in by Darren and it's been stored possibly in a loft or a garage or something like that. It is absolutely filthy. So this is the sort of body section, and this comes from a TIE Interceptor, so it's a slightly different shade of grey. I'm not going to worry about that when I put this all together. It's going to look pretty cool. It's going to be a sort of fairly beaten up Wabi-sabi version of Darth Vader's TIE Fighter. So the fact it's the wrong midsection doesn't matter to me. Actually, the battery cover though is from a Darth Vader TIE Fighter. What I want to do though with it is to sort of modernise it a bit. I want to replace this LED at the front, which is driven by a motor in this one. It flashes using a sort of motor that spins around, and it's red. Darth Vader's TIE Fighter should have a green laser, so I'm going to replace that with a green laser. I also want to put some extra lights inside it so that we get a nice red glow around Darth Vader, because there's a fantastic shot of him inside the cockpit. He's got a sort of evil red glow around it, and I want to recreate that. And I think to do that, it means I'm going to have to replace sort of parts of it and replace the electronics. So I will add new switches and buttons and stuff so that we can possibly fire the lasers via a separate button at the back and then switch the lights on inside with a switch. So I'm going to sort of modernise this completely. This wing clip is snapped as well, so we need to fix that. Then we come on to the wings. Again, there's a great shot of the Darth Vader's TIE Fighter from the end of Star Wars where the wing is damaged and there's bits sort of missing on it. So because these wings are pretty beaten up and yeah, you can see filthy again, all the stickers are damaged. What I want to do is strip all of these stickers off. We'll make some new stickers for it that actually have battle damage put in place, so sort of the way that Kenner or Palitoy would have done it at the time. So I want to completely sort of redo those. We've also got the problem of one of these wings is missing the clip completely, but I've asked my friends over at Xanadu Prime on eBay if that was something that they would make, and they have very kindly made replacement parts. So these are 3D printed replacement parts. I'll put a link to where you can get these in the description, and we're going to be using those to reattach the wings. So you can see this thing is going to be a real Wabi-sabi ship. It's going to be built out of all sorts of parts and pieces, and we'll do a little bit of customizing. But the first thing we need to do is to clean it up. So let's take this apart and see what it looks like inside, and then I can give everything a good wash, because really it is absolutely filthy. I'm getting covered in dirt just handling it. So yeah, it's going to need a thorough wash, and I'm going to have to soak it to get these old stickers off. They are falling apart. You can see them just about scrape them off. But if I soak this in hot water, hopefully all of these old stickers will come off and we're going to end up with a sort of plain canvas to start with again. So let's take this apart and see what it looks like inside. Okay, so to get this ship apart, we've just got a few screws to undo. Some of them are pretty rusty. I've probably got replacements for some of these, but we might try and clean them up. Depends if they actually survive being unscrewed. Could be they just shear off. Yeah, these are going to be right problematic. Oh, there you go. This is the sort of thing that happens with these old ships. That fixing has just snapped off. Everything is sort of rusted together. You can never tell what's going to happen when you take a toy apart, and sometimes things break. It's just the nature of these old toys, and when they've been stored like this in yeah, less than perfect conditions, it's just a sort of a guessing game as to what's going to happen. I sort of imagined things would break on this. Not a big problem. We can fix most of it, and we'll certainly make something that looks pretty reasonable at the end. Okay, so those two screws there at the front are really rusted up. In fact, the heads of them have completely disintegrated. So I'm going to have to get a tiny angle grinder out or something, or maybe a drill, and I'll drill those out. So I'm just going to go and quickly do that in the garage because I haven't got any of that set up here, and see if I can drill those out. It's a little bit of a pain, that sort of thing. Everything else is coming apart okay. We just had one little breakage there, but yeah, those two screws really I've rusted away to nothing. So yeah, let me see if I can drill or angle grind those away without damaging the rest of the ship. Right, well that proved interesting. I first started trying to drill out one of the screws, but as you can see the actual piece of plastic around it cracked. So that's sort of freed it up enough that I can take this apart, and I'll just repair that bit of cracked plastic. It shouldn't be an issue. The other one I thought I'd try with the angle grinder, and the screw did come out, and it came out really quickly, but it came out because the angle grinder heated the screw up so much it melted the plastic around it. So that's why the screw fell out. So I wouldn't recommend using an angle grinder on these screws. It's the first time I've tried that. Yeah, it's not good. It heats up the metal way too quickly and has melted that a bit. Again, not an issue. This is on the underside, and it's such a sort of messed up TIE fighter anyway. A few extra damages are really not going to make that much difference. So we can now take this apart. That end is all free. This one should free up just because it's broken, as I showed, so I should be able to just unclip this. If it breaks a bit more, it's not going to be an issue. I'm going to fix these anyway. Is that going to unclip? Oh, I thought it was. When I was out in my garage, I thought this was freed up enough. There we go. If I just break that piece off. Oh, it's still just holding on. I can see screws are falling out the other end. Let me put that to one side. Oh, it is tricky, this one. There we go. That's got it off. So I'm going to keep that tiny piece of plastic that just pinged away. We can glue that back on. And there it is, finally apart. And I think that bit of plastic is about to snap off as well. Well, it's not, you know. It's just sort of bent out of the way. I'll leave that as is. But there we go. We are into the TIE Fighter. It is starting to come apart. So we can take these pieces out. There's some bits of plastic. Those need washing. There's the clip, which is missing the end. So we need to repair that. Go to this side. What's this one like? That was not too bad. So there's the spring again, needs cleaning. That clip is actually still in place, so we don't even need to repair that. And then we've got the rest of it. This screen should come out a bit dirty. Everything else is not looking too bad at all. As I say, I'm going to take all of this apart because it just needs a thorough clean. So yeah, I can't see any sort of big issues in here. Let me just unclip everything. These power connectors should unclip with a bit of a wiggle. Like that. If I unclip that one there as well, it should just unclip with a wiggle, and then we can get these two sides apart. Might need a pair of pliers for that just because it's in an awkward position. There you go, it's starting to come apart. There is the motor, and as I say, I'm not going to keep that. I hate the noise that these motors make, so I'm just going to cut the cable tie that holds that on, like so. And we can take this motor off. Yeah, there we go, we've got the two sides apart. It is filthy though, so let's go and give this a good clean and try and get all of the dirt and grime off. And I'm going to soak the wings to get the stickers off. And then we can start reconstructing this thing and making it look half decent again. And here we go, here is everything all cleaned up, and it's actually ended up looking pretty reasonable. It was a lot of work, there was a lot of dirt and grime, but the end result is these look, you know, like half decent pieces. There's some yellowing on this one. The wings, they were a tremendous amount of work scraping off all of these old stickers. You can see there's still some marks left on, but these are going to be covered up by new stickers. I was just trying to get everything as smooth as I could, so I've taken all of the sort of residue off that's needed. Yeah, I don't think they look half bad at all. This one had one sticker that was worth saving. You can see it's not damaged at all. So I've just left that one to be one original sticker. All the rest will be replaced with some reproduction ones. So yeah, I'm very happy with that. But while I was going through it, I sort of noticed all the areas of damage that I need to fix up. The battery cover is actually split. You can see that there's a crack down the middle of it. Possibly won't do anything to that. You can't plastic weld this sort of plastic, so I might just leave it as is. It still fits and works, but it's just something to be aware of. One of the wing clips is broken. Now, I've got a very old video on this, replacing and repairing these using some Lego. I think this time I will probably make something out of some styrene sheet. I think I can make something that will sort of work just as well with some styrene. I didn't know about styrene, and I didn't know about plastic weld back when I did that video, so I'm going to sort of tackle that differently. There's also some damage inside that we need to fix up where these little bits sort of attach on. You can see they've got little posts either side. They fit in there, and then there's a little clip that they should sort of go onto on either side. Part of that is missing, so I need to repair that. Again, that'll just be some styrene and some plastic weld, and you can actually see that one of the little posts on this side is missing. I would have done that with Lego previously. I probably will still do that with Lego, just drill a hole through and stick a bit of a Lego antenna in there. So I'm going to get all of these fixes done. I'm not going to explain them all again because I cover this so many times on the channel. If you want to check out how I sort of fix things with styrene and plastic weld, then watch some of my other videos. I will just get to work on fixing all of these. I think we've got one clip to repair as well. Yeah, one of these little screw holes, that one is completely damaged. So again, I'm going to build something out of some styrene. So I'm just going to get constructing and repairing, and I'm going to fix up all of these things, and then we can start doing the customizing part of this, which is the most interesting part of this project. think I've got all of the fixes I need done now. So you can see here, this was the little hook mechanism. That one was missing the end completely, so I've made that out of some 2mm styrene sheet and then added a bit of support on either side with some 0.5mm styrene sheet. That feels really strong. The other one I've added the support to as well because there was a crack through the little hook part there. So again, 0.5mm styrene sheet on either side, and you can see I've made a new little peg out of a 3mm styrene rod there, which I've drilled in place and shaped as well. On this bottom section, one of the screw holes was damaged, and I showed you at the start, so I've removed that completely and I've rebuilt that out of some 3mm styrene sheet. And you can see I've drilled a hole through, and then on this top section where those wing release clips go, part of that clip there was missing. So again, I've made that out of some 1mm styrene sheet and just plastic welded that in place and shaped it. So now if we drop the wing release clips in, that has somewhere to fit. All fairly simple little repairs, but they did need doing, because without that, then even though this is going to be quite a scruffy looking ship, it wouldn't have worked. So it's well worth getting all of those fixed up. Now we can move on to adding some new lights to this TIE fighter. Right, so what are we going to do with these lights? Well, the first thing I want to do is replace the LED that's on the front, which was a red LED. I'm going to be replacing that with a green flashing LED. You can buy pre-wired LEDs off eBay fairly cheaply. So I bought this one, which is a green flashing one. If I just put a battery on there, you can see this flashes green. So that will be the new laser. I want to add some lights inside as well. So when Darth Vader is inside the cockpit, let me just put him in there so you can see how he sits. I want a red glow sort of on either side of him, so I'm going to drill some holes in these walls on either side of the cockpit and insert a 3mm diameter red LED on either side, and I think that will give a nice glow. And we should be able to hide the wiring all around the outside, so you won't actually see any of those wires. But it means we do need to do a bit of replacement on the back of this. If I turn this around, you'll see there used to be a switch here that you would press, and that was what activated the motor and the LED. I have now removed that switch because I'm going to be replacing that with a modern switch, which I have here. Now I've trimmed this down slightly. The edge of this I've cut off. I've done a little bit of sanding just to the top of that gap, and this switch now fits really quite snugly in that gap, just like that, and I don't think that's going to look too out of place. So we'll have a switch there that we're able to switch, and that will light the LEDs on the inside and also light the laser at the front. I may come back to this and change it so that the laser is on a different switch or on a button or something, but for now I want to get this wired up with that single switch in place. The battery will be one of these batteries here, which is a 2032. You can pick these up again pretty easily. They're fairly cheap, but these are 3-volt batteries and ideal for running LEDs because they're also quite small, and you can buy a little battery holder as well. So I've got this battery holder which I will be wiring into the circuit. So let's get all of these added. I've got to drill a couple of holes and then do a little bit of wiring and connecting everything together, and we'll see if this actually works how I want it to and if it lights up the cockpit. The circuit itself is actually going to be fairly simple because we're going to put all of the lights in parallel, so we can connect all of the red wires together and all of the black wires together. The black wires will connect to the negative terminal on this. The red wire coming out of here will go to the switch, and then it will come off the switch onto the LEDs, and that will connect the entire thing. It's going to be a very simple circuit, as I say, nothing too complicated. But let's get this all added and see what it looks like. So this is certainly not the neatest of wiring jobs I've ever done, but it does work. You can see I've connected all of the reds from the LEDs together and all of the black wires together, and then that is going via a switch to the little battery pack which will go in the original battery compartment. So let's put this together and see if it works or I get the result that I'm after. It's a little bit sort of messy in there with all the wires. I'm going to have to sort of rearrange those at some point. I've tried to get Darth Vader as well. He's just fallen out. It's going to be a bit awkward putting this together with this extra stuff in. I think we should be able to do it. So let me hook him back in place there. Is he back in? Yeah, he's back in. Let's get all of this in. Line up those wires. I need to tape a few more wires down. I think I've got a few sort of sticking in really awkward places, but I'm not going to sort of worry about that until we put all of the rest of the parts of this TIE Fighter back together. I just want to get this roughly together so that we can test the lights. Right, there we go. Yes, that is now roughly together. So we can put Darth Vader in properly. So he's sat in his cockpit there. We'll shut the lid. The front section has just fallen off because I haven't actually glued that in place. So let's just put that back on there. Now let's switch the switch and see what this looks like. So if I switch that, the light should come on. So yes, we've got a flashing laser at the front, and then you can see there are two red LEDs inside. If I switch off my filming lights, you should be able to see that a whole lot better. Look at that. That's really looking nice. Actually, you see the full effect there. Darth Vader is glowing red. If we look in through the top, you can see that he is nicely lit up by those two little LEDs. So that is looking really nice. That's exactly the effect I was going for. So let's now put this all back together properly. I've got to put the wing clips in, I've got to put the cockpit glass in, all of this and the wiring on top of it, but I think it should fit. It's just going to be a case of sort of rearranging stuff as I go. I can see I need to stick the front part of this little cockpit together as well. That seems to be coming apart, so I'll just put a bit of glue on that as well before we put everything back together. But I'm very pleased with the effect on that. That's yeah, really nice. You can see him glowing inside just like you see him in the movie. Okay, so I've started to put everything back together. I'm just putting the wing clips in. So here's the clip, here's one of the springs. I've given these a mild clean in some vinegar. Basically, if you drop these rusty pieces in vinegar, it will get rid of most of the rust, and I've given it a bit of a brush down, so that's sort of as clean as it's going to get. Then we get this little cylindrical piece. You put the spring inside that, the clip goes in there, these two prongs go through the holes on the clip, and then that all slots in there. It's a fairly simple mechanism. There's only one way of doing it, so you're unlikely to get it wrong. I've already put the other side in. I've got a different cockpit glass. The one that was on this ship was very yellowed, and I found this one which has got a crack across the front of it, but I really like that crack. It makes it look like it's sort of more battle damage. So as I'm going for a version of this where, you know, Darth Vader's been hit at the end of A New Hope, and he's sort of spinning off, so I think this extra bit of damage here just looks really nice. So I'm putting that one back in. The other one's very yellowed, so this is, you know, the best one I've got out of my box of spares, but I think it will look really quite nice. So we drop that in there. Then got to put the cockpit seat in. I think that has to go via the top section because that all hooks in place. I've done other videos on how to put the this ship back together, so if you want to see the sort of process fully, do watch some of my other videos. I'm not going to show you the whole process today. So that one clips onto those little sliders at the back there. Now we've got to get everything back in with all the wires in place, so this is going to be the fiddly job. So let's start pushing that together. Then again, I've cleaned all of the screws, so all of those screws need to go back in as well. And I've got a final little bit of stuff to do once this is all back together. I want to paint this new little fixing that I put on there, which is black, and I'm going to make something to go over this little hole here. So I'm going to make something out of styrene, just a little detail to go over this hole next to the button, and then I think that will be done for this part. But yeah, it's all getting there. I can just see one of the springs has fallen out of the side here, so let's push that back in. It's a bit of an awkward ship to put together, and certainly it's even more awkward now that I've added all of this wiring, but we will get it done. Now we come on to the wings, and we have one good right wing here, and the left wing is missing the middle clip. And as I mentioned at the start, we're going to be using a reproduction one of those, which is from Xanadu Prime over on eBay. They have 3D printed these replacement clips. Now these clips look like they are an incredibly tight fit, so I have done a little bit of sanding and shaping just to take some of the excess sort of print off it, just to make it a little bit of an easier fit. And I am going to be warming these up before I try and fit them. I have a feeling if you don't warm it up, you may end up with some issues of sort of splitting the print. So I'm going to go and boil the kettle, and I'll dunk this in some just boiled water just to warm it up enough that I can ease it in and get it to clip in place. But I think you need to be aware that there might be a little bit of a modification needed to these before you try and fit them. I've just sort of trimmed down some of the edges just to make it a little bit of a looser fit. So let's try and fit this and see how well it works. And there we go, that is the clip fitted. I did have to make a couple of little modifications, as I said, just to make it sort of fit a little bit less snug. It was just going to be too much of a tight fit, and also warming it up in just boiled water really helped. It just gives it a little bit of softness and you can squeeze it in. And I have had to make one repair to this wing. I noticed one of the clips was missing here, so I've actually just made a little one out of styrene, and that is now clipped in place really firmly, and that's going to fit very nicely back onto Darth Vader's TIE Fighter. And I've also started putting replacement stickers on. I bought a set of replacement stickers for the wings off eBay just because I didn't want to waste all of my printer ink, and it's worked out about the same cost to buy some reprinted stickers like this. They have been printed on a glossy finish paper, not quite as close to the original as I would have liked, but they're pretty reasonable. And it actually looks to me like the ones that I've bought here are just a printout of the sticker scan that is available on Eric Stormtrooper's website. So you can essentially do this for free. Just go to Eric Stormtrooper's website, download those and print them out. So I probably didn't need to buy them. But while I stick the rest of these stickers on, you can watch me in Photoshop design a new sticker for the Darth Vader TIE Fighter to add the damage to the top of this wing. So you can go and watch that. I will get the rest of these stickers stuck in place. And this is what I've made. I've already cut them out. As you can see, I printed them onto some glossy sticky back printer paper. And the idea is that these will sit on the corner of Darth Vader's TIE Fighter wing like that to show some battle damage. I think that's going to work really nicely. So we've got one on the outside there, turn that round, and then we can have another one on the inside there. So you've got battle damage on both sides of it. And this is my sort of nod to that end shot in Star Wars when Darth Vader's TIE Fighter is spinning away after being hit by the other TIE Fighter once the Falcon has shot it. I think that's going to look pretty nice. So let's get these stuck on and I'll show you the finished TIE Fighter in all its wabi-sabi glory. And so here we go. Here is the finished Darth Vader TIE Fighter. And I know a lot of you are going to say, well, it's not actually a Darth Vader TIE Fighter because the middle bit's from a TIE Interceptor and it's all wrong. But you know what? It doesn't matter. What I've done is taken the remains of a ship that I was sent and turned it into something really nice. I'm very pleased with how this looks. It may not be perfect. It's a very wabi-sabi looking ship, but I love it. I think it looks absolutely fantastic and I would be very happy to put this on display. So you can see what we've got here. We've got a smashed cockpit at the front. I think that just adds that little bit of extra detail to it. If we turn it around, you can see we've now got the battle damage on the wing there. I think that's a nice little touch to add to this TIE Fighter. It just gives it that sort of uniqueness. And you can actually see if we turn it around that the battle damage is also on the inside. So if you want to do that to your own Darth Vader TIE Fighter, then that file will be available from toy-polloi.com. We have also added all of the lights, which I think make a big difference to it. Just making the laser light green makes it match the movie, and then adding the details inside the cockpit so that Darth Vader is seen with a sort of red glow around him. It's a real nice addition, that, and that's something I wish they had done originally. It would have been a very simple thing to do. Obviously we don't have the noise anymore. I've removed the motor, but I know a lot of people don't like the noise that these old toys make, so the fact that it is now silent, it doesn't bother me as well. It means that I can actually switch the lights on and not be sort of tortured by the screeching sound of the lasers. And as you can see, it does look really pretty cool. At some point maybe I'll get the right middle section, the Darth Vader TIE Fighter middle section, or maybe I'll get some TIE Interceptor wings and I can sort of mix and match the two together to make different versions of this. But for now, this wabi-sabi version of Darth Vader's TIE Fighter is going to go in my collection and on display. I need to say a massive thank you to Darren, who very kindly sent in a whole box of broken bits, and this was in the bottom of that box. I need to say massive thank you to Max and Rianne from Xanadu Prime, who helped me with the replacement wing clip mechanism. If you need to get those for yourself, then do check out their eBay listings. I'll put a link to that in the description. I hope this video has been of interest to you. If it has, then make sure to click the subscribe button and tap the bell to be notified each time I upload a new video. And thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching toy-polloi. Subscribe for more great videos. You can also follow toy-polloi on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram.